this 2023 election is loaded with a lot of things. There's a lot of talks going on here and there as far as this 2023 election is concerned. Some are saying, oh, the election might not take place. Some are saying, oh, it will take place. Some are even argue where the presidency should be zoned to in 2023. A lot of controversies here and there, but we have a Obadiah Melafia is saying a different thing altogether. Dr. Obadiah Melafia, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, in the interview he granted by Sam Onwauku, speaks on the fiscal situation of Nigeria, the mounting debts, and a number of other issues. Well, those who are not in government will be saying a different thing. Why those who are in government will be saying, oh, these people don't even know what is going on. They don't know what is going on. We are seeing it from a different aspect or from a different perspective, because they believe that those who are not in government do not know what the government is going through. But the reality is staring at those who are really involved. Those who are really involved, the reality is hitting hard on people. Really hitting hard on people. Where in the interview the man granted, and he was really asked those questions. Fitch predicted in March that the federal government would spend 395% of its total revenue on debt service by 2023. That is scary. What do you think will happen if we truly land in this trouble? And he said, yes, I heard of the Fitch forecast. It sounds quite dramatic. To be honest, to address this question, let us do some trend analysis. As of March 31st this year, Nigeria's total stock of debt stands at 33.107 trillion naira, which is equivalent to $239 billion. The external component of the total national debt stock stands at $32.86 billion, which is equivalent to 12.4 trillion naira. Did you hear that? Nigeria's current debt to GDP ratio is estimated to be 31.94%. It has almost doubled from a low of 17.4% in 2014. As we speak, the National Assembly has approved yet another bank of borrowing worth billions of dollars. You do not use GDP to repay your debts. You use government revenue receipts to service your debt. In 2015 or 2014, before the current APC-led administration came to power, the ex-president Goodluck Jonathan's administration paid 500 billion naira for debt servicing. This amounted to a mere 10% of total government revenue. We are in a relatively comfortable position. In the following year of 2015, coinciding with a global recession and precipitated fall in world oil prices, debt repayment bill tripled to 1.5 trillion naira, amounting to 30% of public revenue earnings. By 2017, the figure galloped to 3 trillion naira, which amounted to 61.6% of government revenue. And it went on and on and say a lot of things, talking about the economy. People are not even bothered about the economy. It is those who are alive that will be talking about economy. Those who are alive will be talking about economy. Well, and the question that was put to him again is that President Muhammadu Buhari has been talking about removing 100 million Nigerians from poverty by 2023, and he was asked that does he see this as a realistic or mere wishful thinking? He said pure unadulterated wishful thinking. As a matter of fact, a member of a December 2020 report from the World Bank indicated that an additional 11 million Nigerians would fall into poverty in 2022. From the current figure of 90 million people, the population of our poor would rise to 109 million people. And yet, Buhari said they want to do that in 10 years' time. And that 10 years' time, how many years does he have to do that? Or that is remaining for him to stay in the office, which is like less than 2 years. And he wants to leave people out of poverty, 100 million in 10 years' time. Just like the man said, he said it's an unadulterated wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. So those are just the things that the man has really said concerning this talk about 2023. Well, insecurity is making life very difficult for everyone in the country. The emir of Kajuru was abducted right in his palace recently. And what is the way out? What advice do you have for President Buhari? He said, yes, we all heard of the kidnap of the emir of Kajuri. It was a relief that the royal father was later released by his captors. But I hope you remember that the first-class chief of the Adara people, Dr. Mewada Galadima, was kidnapped in even murkier circumstances. He had written to the governor of the state complaining bitterly of increased harassment by armed Fulani militias. You know that they always tell you that, oh, it is not Fulani. People are just trying to be mischievous. What? Just try to be mischievous. That is not Fulani, but now we can see that they are the ones, involved in all these atrocities. But Buhari is not angry. The Northerners are not angry about that. It is just like that. It is. Well, it is. That's how they have been rolling. And let's see how it's going to turn out to be. Well, the issue is that the other monarch that was kidnapped, the governor gave him a date, gave him the king of the first class chief of Adara people. He gave him a date. He turned on the hour together with his wife. After waiting for several hours, he was told that the governor was not available. On his way back, he was kidnapped together with his wife and the driver. His wife was beaten and raped in his presence. Jesus Christ of Nazareth, can you imagine? In his presence, a heavy ransom was paid on his head. The community struggled and managed to raise. You can imagine, a first-class chief, this kind of thing was done to him, and everybody just went to sleep as if nothing has been happening, in spite of the huge investment in the water sector by the government and international organizations. Water scarcity has grown to become a perennial nightmare for residents of other places going through the same stress. And the man is saying that if care is not taken before we can do anything, before we can say we want to do anything, if we have to postpone 2023 elections in order to have a transitional year for a restructured Nigeria, so be it. But with the way things are going, these guys are not ready for restructuring, and that is the problem we are having. You can imagine, this statement and this story that this man talked about is so touching. How can a man be kidnapped and kidnap his wife, and they raped his wife right in his presence? Do you know, a first class chief, even if it's to be ordinary people, this is something that they want you to continue to be managing. See what has been happening.